going to nickname it Mr. Corkscrew because it just keeps flipping over after the lane changer. What can you do about it? After several iterations, I came up with a configuration that is like pretty darn cool. It's going to stay on the track and it can negotiate the lane changer very well, and so I'm actually quite pleased with it, running on 1.5 volt batteries. Now, this is not going to be the fastest version of a polycarbonate MA chassis car, but it's going to stay on the track. It's going to beat a lot of other cars. So let's see some of my iterations. Let's see what we can do to make this car more stable. Here we have a build of the Festa Jaune Orange Special, and what makes this special is the fluorescent orange chassis, fluorescent orange wheels, the special Festa Jaune tires, imprinted tires there, and the carbon printed body. This is a polycarbonate body, folks. So the sticker set here is also special to this Festa Jaune Orange Special. Yes, very cool. So here I built it, and let's take a look at the insides. This is a 25,000 RPM motor. This is the motor that came with it. It's a box stock motor. It's got a 3.5 to 1 gear ratio, purple pinions. Yes, very, very cool. So let's pop this back in place. I have a 27,000 RPM Venom-tuned motor that I could use also in case this isn't fast enough. Yes, very cool. So let's take a look at this polycarbonate shell. Ooh, it's beautiful, isn't it? Wow, take a look at that. So you see there's kind of like a matte finish about it. And let me tell you, it's matte finish now, but once we're done with cutting out this cowl from this shell right here, then we'll peel off the top layer and it will be shiny. It will be so shiny and so beautiful. And then you can put your stickers on top if you like. So a lot of people like to put stickers on. I am one who likes to put fewer stickers than a lot. I'd rather the cowl speak for itself. I'd rather have minimal decorations on my cowl to basically keep the lightness of this entire car. So that's one strategy that a lot of racers use to try to limit the number of stickers so that the car can weigh as little as possible. Now, if you are to put stickers on the car, try to put them towards the front of the car rather than the rear. That way your front part will be a little bit heavier so that if your car has to negotiate a jump, it will then land more easily with the additional weight on the front. So that's my little pro tip for the day. So yeah, we're going to cut this body out of the shell right here, and I'll see you soon. We're done cutting the cowl from the shell, and now we're going to peel off the top layer. So a lot of people love peeling the skin off of polycarbonate bodies. They feel that it has like a very satisfying kind of feel to it. The fact that you're uncovering something that like looks beautiful underneath. So you just gotta be a little careful, because if you do it too quickly, then you can actually rip off parts that you don't intend to rip off. So then you have to basically try to get underneath those parts there. So if you just do it slowly, then you'll have better results. So there we go. There we go. I think this is probably one of the easier to remove skins from a polycarbonate body. There we go. Ooh, it almost got snagged over there. Come on. There we go. Yes. There we go. Look at that. Wow. Looks beautiful from front to end. All shiny. Yeah. And now the next step is to add the mounting hardware. And then we could place this shell on top of this car, and then we can just do some minor trimming to make sure that the tires, the wheels and tires, clear the wheel well underneath. So yeah. So let's add the hardware. The mounting hardware is on the shell, and if you take a look at what's going on here with the front wheel and the rear wheel, notice there's a larger space between the rear wheel than there is between the front wheel and the wheel well. So I don't know if that's by design. It looks a little iffy to me, but what was explained in the instructions was that you need to put the pieces L4 and L1. L4 is for the rear mounting point right here, and L1 is for the front, and those are the flatter pieces, the more narrow pieces. So what I'm going to do is, they provided this. This is a wider piece than L1. So I think I'm going to replace L1 with this thing right here. This thing should make the front part a little higher up, and I'll be more comfortable with that, especially in landings. It looks like it's preposterously close to the wheel in the front. And anytime this cowl is going to hit the wheel, it's going to cause friction and it's going to slow the car down. So you don't want that to happen. So let's remove the front part here. And I really don't like the way these mount points are here. It's like a singular mount point here and there. It's not very rigid, not very sturdy. If you take a look at the Exflowly design, you see here they include on the same chassis, this piece here, it's a plastic piece that runs lengthwise from front to rear, and this makes the entire car a lot more stable than the Festa Jaune. So, Festa Jaune, however you pronounce it, it's not really going to be as stable as the Exflowly. So, let's remove this piece. Let's see if we can get the friction issue resolved. It's things like this that really bug me about these designs. I hope I can actually add that piece in there. Let's see. Let's see. Can we? Ooh, it may or may not clear. Take a look at that. You get very little screw left over when you try to attach this on here. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see if it works. If it doesn't work, then oh well. We'll have to go back to the original piece. Let's see if it does work. I think it doesn't work, no. It's just too little, it's not enough screw thread to mount onto this piece here. And you're not allowed, according to box stock rules, you use what's in the box. You're not allowed to switch this out to a longer screw. And there are no longer screws in the box, making this piece basically worthless. So let's take a look at something else here. We definitely need a piece there because we need to make sure that it clears the wheels. So what can we do to space out just a little bit more? I got it. So we're going to take this and put this on here, just like so. Ooh, it fell down. There we go. Place it just like so. Ooh, I got it. We have this extra washer here. It came with an extra washer. So we're going to add this washer, concave side up, onto here. And then we're going to add this right here, this piece right here on top of the washer. Okay, and with that, oop, it fell off. Hold on. It's such a small, tiny piece. There we go. Try again. Oh. It's a challenge doing this all with the nails, guys. So hopefully you don't have long nails like I do. Okay, so got all the pieces in place. Let me just try to screw thread it in for the time being. Just need to make sure, yes, that everything's in place, which it is. Good. And now I'm going to attach this final mount point on top. Yes. Okay, so with that little bit of space created by the washer and the plastic washer, basically that's a plastic washer underneath the metal washer, we should have a little bit more space underneath the wheel well, between the tire and the wheel well. And little tiny differences mean a lot in the mini four-wheel drive world. I think this is centered more or less, yes. Okay, so now let's try attaching this back on and we'll see where we're at. And I think the difference is subtle, but it's there. It's definitely much more on this side than the other side. It could be just that this is just not attached in a straight perpendicular way. So we'll try, now that it's mounted on here, we could loosen this and then tighten it again and then adjust the body shell so that it's more even on both sides. Let's see. Now it seems to want to dip over to one side. So you have options here. You can always trim off this wheel well just a smidge so you can get more space between the tire and the wheel well. But let's just try to make sure that this is all attached properly. So what I want to do is just make sure that all the mount points are on properly. So it may be the rear that's causing some issues too. Yeah, I think this side has, yeah, this side is definitely there's much more pronouncement in the wheel well than the other side. So let's reattach this. Let's just loosen this and then try reattaching. Now that this whole thing is locked in place. Okay. No, it still seems to like to, oh wait, there's a lot of space there, there's a lot of space there, good space there, and, well, it's better than before. It's like the tiniest difference, right? But it's enough of a difference such that it should clear when there's a jump. So after the jump, when it lands, this is how it'll be. And like, yeah. So with one of these styles of cars, you have to make sure that the batteries you use are heavy enough so that when this lands, it'll be more or less flat. So let's take a look at some of the potential batteries we can use. Some places allow you to put rechargeable batteries in, which are very light, 36 grams versus a typical alkaline battery, which is more like 48 grams. Let's give it a try. Let's see what it's like. And let's put this on here. Yes. And now, there we go. Nice. A little bit of bouncing top and bottom. Let's see what goes on with this one. Sounds different when it drops, huh? Also 36 grams of batteries. Yeah, let's see what this weighs. Because the difference between the two so far doesn't seem that different. And I think the scale will tell off. So let's see what these weigh with their batteries in place. 123.62 with the batteries in, 123.64, okay. And here, 121.22, so it looks like a difference of 121 to almost 124. So it's at least 2 grams difference between the two. So this is heavier. Heavier because of this plastic piece here. And this plastic piece provides a lot of stability. So here, there's no plastic piece underneath here. So there's no stability, or very little stability. And I think a lot of people don't like this car because this car has issues with course outs. So it's a very light car, that's why. So we're going to try some races and see which one's faster. The X-Flowly versus the new Festa Jaune Orange Special. I normally don't like tests like this because, well, they tell part of the picture on a little track like this. With a little track like this, what you're gaining the knowledge of is how well it does on the lane changer. So that's an important part of racing. But there's a lot more thrills and chills, so to speak, in racing than just the lane changer. So there are things like the squiggles, there are things like inclines, tabletops, jumps, things like that. And with a small track, it's very difficult to see all of those things. But it gives us an idea of how fast the car can be. So let's take a look at this, see how fast it could be. So both of these have rechargeable batteries in them, about the same battery power each. And yeah, this one, super fast car. It's been raced a couple of times. This one's never been raced. We'll see how well these fare. Okay, immediately we see that this thing just flipped upside down for whatever reason, so it corkscrewed. So I don't know what's going on there. I think it could have something to do with the brake underneath. So there's no brake on this one. There is a brake on this one. So we'll just try to match up their components and see if this still corkscrews with the brake. Okay, so we saw that this one corkscrewed, this one did not. However, this one did not have a brake. This one did, so we're going to try to remove the brake and we're going to see if the same results occur. So a lot of people like racing their cars without a brake because they can get much faster speeds. However, without a brake, you're playing a lot of risk. You're basically trying to say, hey, let's see if my car can withstand all of the crazy obstacles without the brake, and depending on how stable your car is, that may or may not work. So let's take a look. Let's see if it works. It was a very valiant attempt. It made the first lane changer, but then when it tried to come back over it, it didn't quite work out. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that the corkscrewing effect is like, it happens in this one, probably because it's lighter and probably because there's no centerpiece underneath here. The centerpiece, like on the X-Flowly, just makes the entire cowl more stable. This one's just got the front and rear, so it's not very stable, which is kind of like, that's just terrible. So yeah, it's a very nice looking car. And on the right track, it probably will stay on. It'll probably be very fast, but unfortunately, it's just going to corkscrew over the lane changer on small tracks like this. Let's run another test, and let's try swapping the cars, placing them on different lanes, and let's see what happens. Another corkscrew. So let me just say this. This car was actually faster than this car around this track, it seems. And it's because of the 2 grams lightness, right? So this is 2 grams lighter than this. And so of course it's going to go a little faster, all things else being like the same. So yeah. However, you sacrifice a lot of stability with this car. This car is a nice car. It looks nice. Performance-wise, I think it leaves a lot to be desired. I think if you place this on a different chassis, on a car that does not have a fluorescent chassis, this cowl that is, if you place this cowl on a stiffer chassis, it's going to fare a lot better. And yeah, there are plenty of non-fluorescent chassis out there that you could put this on. But if you do that, you're basically disqualifying yourself. So you have to find a fluorescent chassis if you want to place this cowl on a different chassis. So yeah, fluorescent chassis are not always the best choices for box stock. The very flexible nature of the chassis, it's just not going to handle things like the lane changer very well. So let's just run this by itself and let's see what happens. Maybe it'll run better by itself. It didn't even like that. So let's try a different lane altogether. How about here? Look at that. Fast car. But it's just, you know, like you try to use it for racing, and I think it's best to be placed on the shelf, right? This would look really nice on the shelf, I must say. Orange and black is a very nice combination. Yeah, let's try one more time. Race on opposite ends. So yeah, I would say that if you were to race one of these polycarbonate shell cars, that you don't go for the Festa Jaune Orange Special unless you've got a slow motor in it. So this is a 25,000 RPM motor in this one. This one too also has a 25,000 RPM motor, although it's been used a couple of times, so it probably got dumbed down a little bit to 24,000, but this is the car that's going to help you win races versus this one, because this is a lot more stable than this one is. And as you know, you need stability to traverse around certain tracks. Now, here's the big issue. Even with the additional stability of this car, if you don't have a brake, you're still playing Russian roulette. So you have to be very careful with your battery voltages. If you're not careful with your battery voltages, then all hell will break loose, and this is going to corkscrew or course out too. Chances of this corkscrewing, not as much as it would course out. So in my experiences, I've noticed that this has a greater tendency to course out rather than to corkscrew. So that's a good thing about this car. Because of the 2 grams of added weight, it actually stays in the track a lot better than something like this. So with this one, I think that if I used a less powerful motor or dumb my voltages down even more, this will probably stay on the track better. But yeah, there are other ways of trying to get this to stay on course. So we're going to explore those possibilities, and we'll see if we can get this to stay on the track. So I've got a theory that if I place a cage underneath here, it's going to strengthen this entire body shell. It's going to make it more stable, so it's not so flimsy. This is the reason why this is coursing out so much. It's so flimsy here. I can literally bend this apart. And also, the chassis itself is very flexible. So fluorescent chassis, really, they're very flexible, and I guess they would be good for certain open class cars that require flexibility, but for box stock, it might not be the best thing for box stock. So we have to solidify this somehow. And I have some ideas. I have some ideas to solidify this. So we're going to have to use some garbage parts from our box stock kit. We're going to have to use this, and we're going to have to figure out some way of getting this to be usable with this cowl. So let's see if I can figure something out here. So it slots right under there. And center it. Now, let's see if this gets on top. Yes, it does. Okay. Let's try to center this more. We want to try to make sure that the wheels don't touch the plastic, the inner plastic cage. I want to center this behind. Let's see if it turns on. Oh, the plastic cage is interfering with the movement of the wheel. It's not going to go on because of the plastic cage. It's a good idea, though. That would have been cool to see it work. Because that would have made the whole thing more rigid, having this cage right underneath it. Let me see. So what's causing the cage not to work? I believe if we just use half of this, we might be able to then just slink it around there and get it more towards the center, and it'll act as a brace. So we're creating basically a strut brace, not across the front like most strut braces are, or the rear like most strut braces are. We're trying to create a strut brace from the front to the back. So that's a little more challenging, right? So let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can do this legitimately. So taking this garbage apart, we need to cut this garbage part. So to reiterate, we could have slinked this around here like so, and we could use this as a brace, and it fits. It's just that the wheel wells, this will interfere with the wheel wells. So we need something just in the front and the rear. So I'm going to chop this in half, basically, and we'll see where this goes. So chop it in half, right about here, right about here. So I do this, and then hook it around the front and the rear, just to create a brace. Now one side's going to be a little heavier than the other, so it's going to take a little bit of balance off. So where is the lane changer? The lane changer is forcing you to consider the right side there. So we want to make the left side, or the right side, a little bit heavier. It's the right side. So we want to basically strengthen, reinforce the right side. So we're going to hook it like this, and get it behind the mounting points there. So we've got something like this now. Pretty cool. Now, with the friction of this whole thing, should keep it in place. Yeah, now it easily comes on with no issues. I wonder if we can just hook the other piece too to get like that nice reinforcement there. I don't know if it's going to slide around. I would think that you could just tape it down if nobody has an issue with it for your box stock rules. But I think tape might be an issue if it all comes down to it, because that would be more of a tune class kind of thing. So I'm hoping this doesn't move around too much. Let's see if it turns on. There we go. So we got a little bit of a strut brace. I wonder if I'm very curious if it does. But now it just clears. It clears the wheel wells, and that's good. That's what we hope for. And let's try turning our attention back towards the track, and let's see if it will negotiate the lane changer properly. Okay, now that it's a little bit heavier. Let's try again. Let me see if this whole thing shifted. Oh, it shifted. Yeah, it came out, unfortunately. So, let me see. Let me see if I hook it better. It does hook properly. Yeah. Let me tighten this when it's on there. So, let's see. Because we want this to be as tight as possible. The brake, I'm curious about that. If there's too much flex on the ends, I want to make sure that the brake is another strut brace. But first I'm going to try this with the brake on. If it negotiates the lane changer with the brake on, then we might have something here. We might need to use the brake, and so long as we've got the strut brace in play, then we've got a good car. So if that doesn't work, I'm going to try putting the strut brace on top. That is, the brake strut brace. So I'm going to try that. Let's see if that gives us any good results. So you see, box stock is all about experimenting, about seeing what you can do given the rules that are in play. So you want to try to experiment with all the different combinations of things you can try so you can get the car to stay on the track. I think I may have stripped the screw thread already. So anyway, let's see if this stays on. No. Let's try again. I put a really fast motor in here too. So let's try something else. I wonder if we can put this brake on top to act as a strut brace. Huh, it clears the 1 millimeter clearance when I put it on upside down. Let's see what happens. Nope. Let's try again. No. I was hopeful. I had the brake on upside down. And now I've wrapped both pieces around. And let's see if that should be good. It shouldn't interfere with the wheels. That's the important thing. Let's see if this turns on. It does. Well, it did negotiate the lane changer, but it did kind of do this kind of wobble thing where it really wanted to ride on just 2 wheels, and not the 2 wheels that we're hoping for, but the 2 roller wheels. And yeah, that's kind of weird. Let me switch the brake to the other side, or let me just remove the brake and let's see what happens here. Now, the batteries are getting weaker, so it's probably going to negotiate the lane changer better. So keep that in mind. We do have that double brace on though. So I think this is still good. Yeah. Good job. Looks like this might need a break. Let's try again. Okay, it likes to flick around. It really does. So let's try putting the brake on the usual way on here. So you see, getting these box stock cars to work is sometimes a matter of trial and error. So I have some theories about how we can get this chassis to be less flexible. We need to alter the characteristics of the plastic so that it's not so flexible. I am thinking that submersing the chassis in cold temperature will do the trick and make it stiffer. Okay, let's try again. Nope. it really likes to corkscrew. So this little experiment I did, it's probably not a good one. It was worth a try though. I think this, yeah, the pieces separated a little bit too. So they probably ended up interfering with the wheels, the tires. So we don't want that. So, yeah. And plus, if you were to race this way, you'd have to keep adjusting these pieces after every race just to make sure that your wheel wells are not being interfered with by the cage, the inner cage. So, yeah. Now you do get a whole bunch of other parts with this kit, and if you were to weigh the front part down a little bit with them, I think that would definitely help the situation. We've got a whole sticker sheet. So if you added all the stickers towards the front of the vehicle, I think that would definitely help the situation. So we're going to try adding the equivalent of all the stickers on the front. So the sticker sheet itself, I'm going to get a weight for the sticker sheet, and we're going to put the equivalent weight on the front of the car. So yeah, we'll see how that goes too. But let's give it one more try, and let's see if this negotiates the lane changer now that we've fixed the cage underneath of the car. Let's start here. I should just nickname this car Corkscrew because it really likes to corkscrew. Okay, so I am going to add weight in the front, and we'll see what happens then. What I did was I added 2 metal weights in the front and some tape, and that gives me 4.88 grams. Now, if you weigh the sticker sheet and the scrap parts that you get from the cowl, so there's a bunch of pieces that you get, the front and the rear and some side pieces, the wheel well pieces, they will weigh 4.88 grams. So I'm adding that weight to the front part of the car. That'll weigh it down so that there's hopefully a less chance of corkscrewing, because this car is like impossibly light. So you want to make sure that this thing's going to have its nose down whenever it goes over a jump or a lane changer. So let's take a look here and see if the performance of this car is in any way improved with this new weight on it. So let's take a look. Oop. Nope. Still pretty bad. My cowl is getting scuffed, unfortunately. It was so pretty before. So let me try shifting the weights a little bit, see if that helps. So instead of having them towards the front, or wait, I'll put them in the closer towards the center. And let's see if that helps. Remember, these are mini 4-wheel drive vehicles, and any little change, however small, in these little cars can mean a significant difference. So that's how you have to look at all of this. You might think that a tiny little change won't do much, but it really will in this case. Let me just try it another lane. Nope. Let's try this. Let's move the weights more towards the window area. Let's see if that makes a difference. So I'm behind the window now, towards the rear part of the window. So it's almost towards the center. We want to make this as stiff as possible so it doesn't move too much. There we go. Now, I had used this weight technique for Pango, and that's how I was able to use rechargeable batteries with Pango, because previously I had used alkaline batteries in Tune class. And switching over to rechargeables, you'd get 12 grams less of weight, which would be, you would think, a severe advantage. But remember that weight of a car doesn't always tell the whole story. If the car is too light, then you have to deal with keeping it down, weighing it down so that it is still as stable as it was when it had the extra weight of the alkaline batteries. Okay, so here we go. We've moved the weight more towards the center of the car. Oh, it looks like it really blunts. It really seems to want to stay on the track, but it's not getting its opportunity. Let me see. How about if I angle it? How about if I put front and back with this? And we'll put it smack in the center. Let's see what happens. The fact that the batteries are like being dejuiced and the battery charge is probably so low now that if the car is still coursing out at this very low battery voltage, we know we've got stability problems. Finally coursed out after several turns around the track. So it's promising, the fact that we centered the weight just like so, right in the middle, long ways. Now we're going to try to put it towards the rear and let's see if that makes a difference. So remember, this is just the weight of the sticker sheet and the plastics, the garbage plastics that are for the polycarbonate shell. Okay, here we go, let's try it. Nope. All right, it still wants to course out. That's okay. Let's just remove the brake and let's see what happens. I've seen this car being raced before, and yeah, the easiest way to get this car to stay on the track is to just put in a new motor in it, a brand new motor, and don't break it in and it'll just run kind of slowly, but it'll stay on the track. So yeah, but I have a very competitive motor in here and I want to use it to my advantage on this particular car, but it's just not giving me the performance I want. So let's take a look without the brake. How terrible. So 2 times around this track, and then finally on the 3rd time, then it corkscrews. Let's try from a different lane. Corkscrew again. Nope, it's not good. Not good at all. Let me just remove this, and we'll set this cowl aside. So let me try a different cowl. I'm going to try the cowl of the Xfloli Red Special, and let's see if that makes a difference with this chassis. So remember, this has got a stiff centerpiece right here. Let's see if it works with this particular chassis too. It does fit. Okay, I'm going to put the white body catch on there. Okay, so the batteries are so dumbed down low now. Let's see. But remember, it was still coursing out before. Let's see if it courses out now. Nope. Let's try again. Oh. So I think it's safe to say that it's the chassis that's preventing this from doing well. So here we have the Xfloli Red Special, and my batteries are more pumping in this one, more juiced up than in the Orange Special. And oh, that also coursed out. Might be a situation with the track itself, huh? Let's take a look. What's going on with this track that it doesn't like? So I never like to blame the track, because tracks are designed to change over time. If you don't believe it, then like you're living in kind of like a fantasy world, because when you're racing on a track, it's invariably going to change and shift over time. And your car should be able to deal with all of that. If it can't, and you're just hoping for optimal conditions all the time, then you're not really experiencing the fun of mini four-wheel drive racing. If we always raced on perfect conditions all the time, what good is that? What fun is that? It's not real life. It's just a fantasy world. So let's try it again. Well, I'll say that maybe this indoor track isn't the best for these MA chassis cars. Let's put it that way. But I think let's give it one more try before we give up on it. Good. Yeah, let's not push the issue on this. This is just not good for these cars, I suppose. But let's see if this works better with this. And let's try the other batteries, because these batteries in the Orange Special are probably so used up by now. They're probably like not very strong. So these wheels on the Orange Special are heavier than the wheels in the Red Special here. So that's one thing to consider. Because the wheels are heavier, you would think that the car will be weighed down more. All right, let's see what happens here. Oh. Poor Orange Special. There's no love for it. Just doesn't want to work well. Let's see this one. It's got my 27,000 RPM Venom-tuned box stock motor in there. Let's take a look at both of these, see how fast each of these are. Well, had no problems that time. So, very fast car. So let's see, with the original cowl, and I'm going to move these weights back towards the center to just add a little bit of weight, 4.88 grams weight, which would be stickers and cowl spare parts. And that should give me an idea of how race-worthy this car is. Let's give it another try. Worked that time. But like I said, the battery juice is probably real low at this point. Let's try one more time. Oh, it so wants to do it too. So hold on a second. So when you have another car with it, it seems to race better. So let's take a look at that one more time. Let's try it again, right here. Let's try this one. Oh, didn't work that time. One more try. Four, 5, 6. I will have to say that when the car stays on the track, it's very impressive. When it doesn't, it goes into a spectacular crash. So, last experiment. I'm going to remove the extra weight from the car. So this is back to the beginning, back to what we had it as before. I'll try this. Now it's 2 grams lighter than it was before. No chance. Okay. Try one more time before we give up on it. Oh, there goes 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it rode the rails and then it popped back in. That's not acceptable. So a lot of people would still consider that to be a victory, but it's really not acceptable. So you need the extra weight. You need to put those stickers underneath the cowl, or on top of the cowl if you want. If you want to really put all the stickers on. You need to use every part of the sticker sheet, including the backing paper itself, and then you'll have something really cool. Now, like I said, the best configuration is to just have the weights like in the center here, the center part. Just try to fill up this part here, this part right smack in the center where the tape is. Fill it with 4.88 grams of leftover plastic from the cowl, as well as the sticker sheet and the backing paper. And then you'll have a car that at least has an opportunity to do okay. It's not going to be guaranteed to stay on the track, but you just have to cross your fingers and hope for the best. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess there's no better proof than that. It stays on the track with the extra weight. So yeah, I think there's something to be said about that. So here we've got weaker batteries in this now, in this other one, and it's probably going to stay on the track just because of the weaker batteries. So we had stronger batteries in there before. Now there are weaker batteries, and so this shouldn't be going around as fast on the track. And let's see, just make sure everything's the same. Course out central. Should I put the brake on? Maybe that'll help in this one. The brake is normally black, so I've just got the white Festa Jaune brake on here. Sometimes on these funny little 3-lane tracks, you really have to use the brake that the MA cars come with. A lot of people like the red chassis the most out of all of the chassis because they feel it's like a higher quality than the black chassis or the gray ones or the white ones. Yeah, that brake definitely helps stop it from careening all over the place on this red car. So yeah, so now I know if we have a situation where it's a small tiny track like this and it's got a lane changer like that, the 3-lane changer, the standard one, we definitely need a brake for cars like this so it can negotiate it properly. So that's basically the only thing the brake is useful for on these tracks. The inclines and the lane changers. So if you don't have all of that, if you just have a track that's relatively flat, or you've got a lane changer that doesn't have any sorts of issues with the sidewalls, then you could simply not have a brake on it and it'll run fine. So sometimes your screw thread could get stripped, so you'll need to put a little drop of glue in it and then just wind a screw into the screw hole just to get the screw thread back in place. So we know the secret of this car now. We need to add 4.88 grams of weight to the center portion of the cowl. Before I forget, here are Duracell Optimum batteries in the Festa Jaune Orange Special. So with the additional 12 grams of weight, this should stay on the track better. We'll see. Nope. Okay, let's try adding the brake onto it. It's really easy to strip screws on these fluorescent chassis, so you have to be very careful with attaching and detaching items on these fluorescent chassis. They're very chintzy. So even with the heavier weight, the balance seems to be all off on this with the heavier batteries. And so, yeah, it looks like maybe that little weight trick with the lighter batteries, the rechargeables, might be a good thing to do. However, I fear that if you just charge up the batteries, the rechargeables, to some moderately decent amount, then it's just going to corkscrew anyway. So this is what I will just nickname the Corkscrew King. So it's just the king of corkscrews. It just doesn't want to work for whatever reason. So I'm going to add some items to the top of the cowl, and then we'll just go from there. After dozens and dozens of trial and error, I came up with this configuration in this Venom Tuner's lab here. And so we have here the bottom roller from here. I'm placing it on the side right here. It's going to have a negligible value, but it's going to actually brace the right side when it goes over the lane changer. So we have 1.5 volt batteries in here, rechargeables, no brake, and everything else is as is, except for the fact that we've got this 4.8 grams, I think it is. Is it 4.8? 4.8 grams. It's all the stickers and the sticker sheet, and yeah, the extra garbage parts from the cowl. So I have that underneath there as like a little payload to weigh it down a little bit because it's too light. And the lightness of it causes corkscrews. So here, we're going to be testing it in a race. Now, it's probably going to corkscrew again here and there. I'm going to see if we can get this to be stable by running this again and again, lowering the battery voltage each time. Four, 5, 6. Good run. Good run. Okay, let's try it on a different lane. All right, that was good. So 1.5 volts. 1.5 volts with this weird configuration, and it seems to take on the lane changer with no problems. I'm not sure yet of what will happen if I up it to 1.55 volts for the rechargeables, but it seems to be pretty stable right now, and I like it. I like it a lot. So I think the payload is a good idea. The changing of these rollers is a good idea. So I got the idea about the side rollers from that, what is it, the K4 Gamble. They recommend that you put the rollers in the sides rather than the rear. In fact, they don't even have a rear part that you can add on to the FMA chassis on the K4 Gamble. They're just saying, hey, disregard it and just put the rollers on the sides. But if you just put the rollers on both sides, it's going to slow down the car a lot. So you want to have these back rollers here to continue having speed in the car. If you don't have these here in the rear, it's going to be a very slow car. It's not going to win many races. So you want to have this here, a little bit here, and this side brace right here. I call it a side brace roller. So yeah, pretty darn cool. So yes, everybody, if you like this video, please slam the like button, subscribe to my channel. You'll see more videos just like this one. Until next time, everybody, see you. Bye.